Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Hump Day in the Rib, Wednesday, and I don't know where we're going to begin, but I will mention that CJ has informed me that the pathological prevaricator Paul, for all of you who forgot his nickname, I'll remind you of one of his new nicknames, the pathological prevaricator, Paul. He made he had an interview with our favorite station, our former the place that bounced us out because we had the audacity to have a different opinion. So they gave him another platform, and he was babbling about his position, and now the prevaricator does it again. Now he said he's always been in favor of affordable housing, and that he's even when he campaigned, he said he was affordable housing. But then he went on, and I'll let you, because you actually watched it, and but uh, but he actually went on to to kind of say that there's never been an issue with him, and but he again confused. He still doesn't know. He still doesn't know the difference between public housing, workforce housing, and affordable housing. And then he said that these generalizations he always uses, that they said, and they said, he doesn't ever give you his sources. Like when I say the per capita income according to the United States Census Bureau, you can go onto the U.S. Census Bureau site and look it up. But Paulie Prevaricator likes to just generalize and basically lie his ass off. And with that, CJ, I'll let you go back so you can kind of frame this issue before we really start picking it apart.
Well, what's Paul gets an interview every week by Keith Tebow at FRCMedia, and it happens all the time. And FRCMedia has become the propaganda station for Paul, and we see because Keith. I don't know if Keith's afraid to ask serious questions or if he's afraid to put him on the spot. But Paul said that he's always been for affordable housing. He believes that Fall River should have a balance of housing, which I said, which is funny because I said that exact same phrase that he said in my weekend flush. So obviously he's reading it. And the thing that gets me is that, as you said, he can't tell the difference between public housing and affordable housing or workforce housing. A study came out that classified low income as a family income less than $75,000, and that it looked at affordable housing in Fall River, New Bedford, Brockton, and Fall River has 4,000 units. They didn't say anything about the fact that most of those units, if not all, are within the Fall River Housing Authority, which is public housing. But $75,000, I don't know of too many people in Fall River who's making $75,000. Because if they were, they wouldn't be living in Fall River. They'd have a home in Somerset or Swansea or Westport or Dartmouth. So it makes it very interesting to see. Now, the great part about it is it looks like the study was a propaganda piece, and a big propaganda piece, because they used huge numbers and they came up with larger numbers of affordable housing units, which isn't the case. There's not a lot of affordable housing units in Fall River, as we know. But Paul did admit that we have over 5,000 applications pending in the Fall River Housing Authority for public housing units. So obviously we don't have enough public housing units, because if we got 5,000 pending, we don't have enough. But hey, who the hell am I? I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, listen, Paul never ceases to amaze me with his just total detachment from reality and frankly his idiocy. Number one, if we've got 5,000 applications for low income, and I mean really low income, because nobody that's making $75,000 a year is going to get public housing. They would qualify for maybe workforce housing based on the area, because we went over this ad nauseum. But Paul, 4,000 units. And this stuff, and listen, I totally disagree. And I think he made the statement that some of these other places have zero affordable housing and they should do it. Well, let me explain something to you, Paul. You're not the freaking governor. You're the mayor of Fall River. What they do in Westport, Swansea, Newton, Wellesley is none of it, that they do what they want to do in their community. Newton has zero affordable housing. Nobody in Fall River, except maybe all your friends, your banker friends, your lawyer friends, your developer friends, they could live in Newton. No average Fall River citizen can live anywhere but Fall River. That's why they're here. And by the way, the 75,000, of course it's a propaganda piece. The $75,000 household income is 33%, 33 and a third to be exact, percent above what Fall River's household income is. Fall River's household income was about 48,000 last year, and I think it's crept up to 50. And the reason it's crept up to 50 is the rich are getting richer, not the poorer families. As we know nationwide, and especially in Fall River, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And I do not believe in balance. You can't have balance, dummy. When it comes to housing, you have to look at the tree, not the forest. That's a con job. In a perfect world, we should have 25% of this and 25% of that and 25% of that and 25% of that. Well, it's not the way it works. Newton doesn't have any affordable housing to anybody from Fall River except your friends, because that's the way Newton wants it. And that's what the residents of Newton can afford. It's kind of like capitalism. Do you really believe that the people in Martha's Vineyard want a whole bunch of affordable housing? They got some illegals in there, and they were out of there in 24 hours. Fall River has always been a blue-collar town. Fall River needs more affordable housing than a Newton or a Wellesley or a Brookline. You have to build a city based on the people in the city. If the people in the city make lower wages, you have to have lower rents and more affordable housing, because that's the way it's supposed to be equitable and fair. Because that's the reality. That's why you have homeless. You see a lot of homeless people laying around the streets in Newton, Paulie? Brookline, call your buddy Auchinclaw. See how many people he's got camped in his backyard. I know that number. 0. You're a moron. You go over there and you sling this crap that somebody fed you because you're not smart enough to figure this out. You don't even know what the average household income in your city is. Look it up. Look it up. You think people in Fall River, if people in Fall River had an average household income of $75,000 a year, there wouldn't be 5,000 people waiting for public, super low income housing. And we wouldn't be talking about needing a lot of affordable housing. All the people that wrote all those comments to Facebook, they should be infuriated by this dimwit. This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he makes no sense. And for him to talk about other areas, you're the mayor of Fall River. I know you really don't live here most of the time, but you're supposed to be taking care of the people in Fall River, not taking care of the people, most of whom don't even live in this city. And if they do, they're making beaucoup money, and it doesn't matter where they live, because they can live any damn place they want. It's the people in Fall River. Look around you. Why are all those people in San Francisco laying all over the streets? Not only drugs. Why did San Francisco lose a ton of their population? They forced the average, and their average is a hell of a lot higher than our average income. But they forced them all out of the city of San Francisco because of the costs of rents. Same thing in all these other cities that forced people out. They forced them out. They forced them into the streets because they live in this clown world that they make up everything, and they just tell you to believe them. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what people are saying that we need it. We need a higher proportion, just as we needed a higher proportionate of public housing because we have people with extremely low incomes. We need a higher proportion of market rate housing. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to figure out. But for you, apparently it is. But where do you come from? You come from the same cloth that these federal people say the border's closed. They said the border was closed for 3 years. Now all of a sudden, oh, there's a big border crisis and the Republicans are stopping us from closing the border. The border that they said for the last 3 years was secure. They lie their ass off. Politicians are liars. They're pathological liars. They're complaining about them not accepting a bill. You know what that bill actually said? Go read it. If you got time to read 370 some pages. But it says that the only people that they're going to count in at 5,000, which is going to be like too many, there shouldn't be one, are the people who come from a country that have a contiguous border with the United States. That means the only people they can count is people that are sneaking in from Canada and Mexico. All the other ones not even counting in that full count. That wasn't a border bill. That's a joke. And again, politicians lie. You can't believe anything they say. They got up there and swore on a stack of Bibles, and they're still swearing on a stack of Bibles. This was going to fix everything. No, it wasn't. But you know what they know how to do? Give $60 billion in that bill to Ukraine while we got people sleeping in the streets, while we're cutting benefits to veterans, the elderly, the handicapped. You know, we need an enema that starts at the bottom and sucks everything out all the way to the top. 24 should be a revolution in the United States, because this country and this city has been destroyed. And just like Biden destroyed this country in one term, Coogan's destroying this city, although he had multiple terms, much to my chagrin and a lot of people's chagrin. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it back over to you, because I mean, listening to that kind of, I gotta go get the Pepto-Bismol.
Definitely definitely for sure. There's no question about that. Well, one of the things that gets me about this whole thing is that our government, our local government, knows the problems that the people of Fall River are having. They know the problems that they're having with buying food, paying for medication, paying for heat, paying for, their taxes, their insurance, because that's what they do. So it's going to be interesting to see where they think people of Fall River are getting the money. They're not Ken Fiola, as was mentioned here. They're not Ken Fiola. Okay? They can't walk around and tell somebody, look, I promise you, I will get you a tip. You're just going to pay me $50 or $60 or $100,000, whatever it may be, or a percentage of how much that tip is. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't want to know how he's doing it. But, if they gave me a tip, if I could get the low income tax credit, I'd make my apartments affordable. I'd drop the rents. Hell, why not? I'll save money on my taxes. Give me a tip. Give me a tie. I'll do whatever it takes. If I'm going to save money on my taxes, I'll save money all the way around. And that's what people aren't understanding. But as I said in a previous show, when Roseanne turned around and said to the politician that came to her door, you're going to give all these tax credits, and who's going to pay for them? And the politician said, well, you are, but you're going to have full-time jobs. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. If the community is not getting anything from those tax credits, and I mean something substantial, like Johnston got, substantial, new equipment, new roads, new controllers, new public safety equipment, new schools, whatever the case may be, whatever they got more than Fall River has ever gotten, because Ken Fiola does not push for more, which is what he should be doing. Because why? Because Ken Fiola does not represent the city of Fall River. He represents his clients, who are the people looking for the tips and the ties and the tax credits. Therefore, his negotiations are going to be to benefit his clients. Yet the mayor sits there while Ken Fiola tries to sell this tip or tie to you and thinks, well, this is good for Fall River. No, it's not. No, it's not. None of the ties or tips that you gave out for market rate housing are good for Fall River. None of them. None of them. And I don't want to hear, well, they create jobs. No, they don't. They create short-term jobs. Very short-term jobs. And right after those jobs are done, the people are laid off again. So how is that beneficial to the city of Fall River? And the other thing is, how many of those people that are hired for those short-term jobs are actually Fall River citizens? Let me know. I'd love to hear.
Well, listen, we know it's all bullshit. One of our viewers mentioned about the Boys and Girls Club being a destination for illegals. That was rumored. I wouldn't be surprised, because where has the destination been for the illegals in all the other cities that we've seen, not only in Massachusetts but throughout the country? We saw the outrage in Boston. They stuck him in Roxbury, one of the lowest income areas in Boston. They didn't stick it in Back Bay. They didn't put it in the affluent areas of Boston. They didn't. That you don't see them camped out on the Esplanade in Boston, do you? You don't see them in Cambridge. You won't see them in Brookline with Jakey Boy. You won't see them in Newton. You won't see them in Martha's Vineyard. But you could very well see them in a boys' club in Fall River. Because this is where they stick them. They always stick them in the communities that are being denied services. New York City, displaced school students. And now that bonehead mayor of them, they got mopeds, the Venezuelan and gangs are coming up now. They're already transporting prostitutes on the mopeds the government gave them. Now he's giving all the immigrants a $1,000 debit card in New York City. We got veterans that are sleeping on the street. We got people with mental illness going untreated. We've got people with drug addiction because of the drugs that are coming across the border, dying and being hooked, being ignored by our government and the cities and towns that they live in, while they throw money at people who are now coming in and are absolutely destroying this economy and the country. They are formulating gangs in all the cities. Look, they just beat up police officers, kicked them in the head. Then they fled. They got 3 out of the 4 of them. They grabbed them at a bus station in Arizona after they were let out with no bail. Wow, what a surprise. You're doing the same thing. We had Maura Healey crying. Oh, we had to do this. We had to throw Americans out because they come from a country where their air is terrible. Really? Really? What kind of pollution do they have in Guatemala? Is there a whole bunch of coal burning factories in Guatemala? Come on! She's the biggest phony I've ever seen, and that's saying something in Massachusetts. Hopefully she's going to be a one-term governor. I've never seen anything like that one. Coming down here and going to Durfee and the 336th worst school system in a state of 351 cities and towns and talking about education? She shouldn't be talking to the camera and playing and putting on an act. She should be talking to the mayor who spent his entire life in education on the school committee or the mayor saying, how the hell did this happen? With all the money we've thrown at you, how could you be 336th? You're not doing your job. But no, it was a big schmooze contest up there. Carol Viola, Paulie, the governor, they're all schmoozing and telling everybody how wonderful it is in Oz. Welcome to the great kingdom of Oz. It's beautiful here. And if you don't think it's beautiful, there's something wrong with you. It's wonderful here. Let's cry. They got terrible air. Terrible air. Why do you think they're trying to come here? It's got nothing to do with the air. Are those countries that are on the list of the highest polluters? Mora. The 2 biggest polluters in the world are the 2 countries nobody even talks about, China and India. They want us to drive electric cars while China makes money building the batteries for the electric cars and pollutes like no other country in the world. But nobody ever talks about China at the summit. They tell us to eat bugs, stops cows from farting, don't grow rice, while China or India does anything they want because they produce all the goods now. So this is absurd. The whole thing is just, these people are just, they're nauseating and disgusting. These politicians, every time they move their lips, something worse comes out, and it's manure. With that, back to you, Paul.
We've had a couple of comments about Maura Healey being down here, and you've mentioned it that she went to Durfee. You know the press wasn't invited. Channel 12 was there, and I think the Herald News was there. That's it. And they covered the boys' club. They didn't cover what went on at Durfee, so we don't know what happened there. Okay? But she wasn't here for Fall River. She was here to go to Mike Rodrigues' annual fundraiser held in Westport. Her and the lieutenant governor. They went there because they were special sponsors. And all the political wannabes and all the political douchebags and all the politics and everything else were all in Westport going, it was a great rim job contest. It was unbelievable. And people don't understand. They don't come to Fall River because Fall River is a place to be. They come for a photo op. I called the governor's office yesterday. I let them know for a fact that they came down here and they did nothing. They didn't ask any serious questions. They were taking pictures with a man who looks like he's been hit with a 5-pound bag of shit. He doesn't have a face for photos. I'm telling you now, it's a sad thing to say. But he looks like he's under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. Maybe because his budget's blown out because he hired all his friends. I'm not sure. But it's really interesting that he all of a sudden got all stressed out and his budget, it's now budget season coming up and he doesn't know where the money's going to come from. He went to the retirement board to get $500,000. And when he didn't get it, he fired the guy so he could put somebody in there who'll vote the way he wants them to vote.
Yeah, wasn't Mike Rodrigues, I got the article, CJ, I hate to interrupt you, but I got to get this in because I know it. But Mike Rodrigues, and I'm going to pull the article for Friday's paper, but that was a while ago. He may be number one now, but at one time, the Boston Globe had him as the third highest perk getter in the state.
Yeah.
Of all our politicians.
He's the one that got more per diem than anyone else, I thought.
That's right. He was right at the top of everything in raking in the public dole. And now he's in charge of Ways and Means in the Senate. So what do they do with him? They come down, kiss his ass, and give him more money.
Right.
The governor's down here kissing his ass for Ways and Means. So this is the way politics works. You think they don't give two shits about you. They don't even give one shit about you. All they give a shit about is what they're going to line their pockets with and all their friends' pockets. Because the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Because remember one thing, they talk about wages and stuff. The reality is, wages, even if they do go up, are not keeping up with the cost of living. That's the problem. That's why America, over 60% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. Doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if you're making $1 more an hour. When a hamburger that used to cost you $2 is now costing you $12. When it costs nearly $20 for a meal at a drive-through. So listen, they've broken this country. These career politicians have broken this country, and we could never get term limits. As much as I used to hate them, I'd say we get what we deserve, but you know something? We really need to, but we can't. So you know what we're left with? We're left with the sad fact, if you don't get your ass out to vote, nothing's going to change. 24 is coming. Let's get some people, let's hope this country begins to go back to a country that cares about the people in it. Not everybody else in the world is ahead of Americans. Americans are dying in the streets. They're living in the streets. They're being thrown out of their homes. They're being priced out of everything. while we give hundreds of billions of dollars to a country like Ukraine. And it's a sad thing, they're in a war. But the reality is there are hundreds of billions of dollars unaccounted for. Our government categorically refuses to look for the missing money. They don't want anybody to know about it. It's like, shut up, don't ask. But everybody knows. We're funding 33% of their government. We're paying their retirement. We're paying their politicians. We're paying to run their government while our people suffer. This is unacceptable. You keep these Democrats in charge all the time, and this is what you get. And they want absolute power. So, listen, the only term limits are the term limits that we're going to impose, because they will never, ever pass legislation that will get them out of office. The only way we can get them out of office is to do what most of you guys, I'm preaching to the choir here, and we appreciate you watching us, but the rest of the people got to get up off their ass and vote. And before, as I sign off, Tom, I know we had one of the people who used to bug us all the time, and I know CJ pays attention to him, but I don't. But let me just close with this. This is our show. It's straight talk. It's our straight talk. We choose what we talk about. We don't need you to tell us what we should be talking about. We'll talk about what we want. If somebody brings up something that we think is worth discussing, we will. But you supposedly have some kind of show. But you watch us all the time and want to comment. We never watch you. I don't care what you say. It's your show. And based on what you say to our show, it's not worth shit. So that's the way it is. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it back over to you.
Just tell it like it is, Chip. Just tell it like it is. It's just very interesting that we saw with the visit of Governor Maura Healey, okay, the dip of Fall River, the dip of Massachusetts, and the dip of this country. No press. No press. Not a lot of press was involved. The only station that was there was Channel 12. They didn't even go for Channel 10, which is like the #1 station in the area. They went for Channel 12. And of course, the sterile news, because there's nothing there. It's not even the Fall River Herald News anymore. It's Herald News. This shows you what we have in Fall River. We've lost our city pride. We've lost it. Our trash bins say pride citywide. No, I don't think so, because I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any even when those trash bins came out. So just remember, pride citywide next time you go out. I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.